Hi, I'm Roland Dobbins, and I'm a principal engineer in NETSCOUT's ASERT team. And today we're going to talk about the topic of DDoS suppression, what it is and why it's important. So, when we talk about DDoS attacks, distributed denial of service attacks, we're talking about attacks that leverage lots of attack sources to attack specific targets on the internet. And those attack sources can be DDoS capable bots that are sending direct path attack traffic to the targets. They can also be reflectors, amplifiers that are being leveraged to generate volumetric attacks as well, and up in the terabits per second. We even see direct path attacks in the terabits per second and millions of packets and requests per second as well. And so when we talk about DDoS defense, typically what we're talking about is once a DDoS attack has been launched, how do we defend against it? And when we talk about DDoS attacks and all those different attack sources, when the attack is launched, those streams of attack traffic start to converge topologically as they near the intended target of the attack, and so then you can have a pretty significant volume of DDoS attack traffic to deal with. It can be more challenging to mitigate, both in terms of the characteristics of the traffic as well as the source diversity and other factors. And so DDoS defense is vital and necessary. But what if we had a way to actually essentially prevent DDoS attacks from being launched in the first place? And that's what DDoS suppression is really about. So, for example, when we talk about those reflection amplification attacks that use misconfigured and abusable services, many of them running on IoT devices like home broadband access routers, for example, and things of that nature, those devices can be abused in a specific way to generate a lot of DDoS attack traffic. And outbound and crossbound DDoS attacks can be just as disruptive to network operators as inbound DDoS attacks. And so increasingly, what we're seeing is that network operators, especially broadband access operators with wireline and wireless operators, are very interested in preventing any customer provided abusable devices that are actually running on their networks from being leveraged to launch these attacks. They don't want them being leveraged to launch attacks against their own infrastructure, against their customers, or against other targets on the internet. And so, in order to be able to successfully implement DDoS suppression, network operators need to have edge to edge visibility on all the traffic that is ingressing, egressing, and traversing their networks. And they also need to have the ability, as close to the network edge as possible, to very surgically mitigate traffic that is intended to initiate these attacks. And so some of those types of DDoS attacks can be suppressed using network infrastructure techniques like FlowSpec, for example, where you use BGP to push ACL stanzas out to network infrastructure devices. And we actually helped invent FlowSpec and serve as a FlowSpec trigger. But there are also a lot of cases in which you really need to go deep into the packet so that you can be surgical with your DDoS suppression, so that you can drop the traffic that's intended to initiate these DDoS attacks, but go ahead and forward legitimate traffic that otherwise can look very, very similar in terms of its gross traffic characteristics. And so that's where intelligent DDoS mitigation comes in as well. And so you want to have that capability as close to your peering edge, as close to your customer aggregation edge, as close to the access edge within the internet data center as possible, so you can detect and classify and trace back and then suppress that DDoS attack traffic to stop those large, high-impact attacks from coming to fruition. And this is something that is increasingly important, especially in an era of 5G, where we're having more and more bandwidth and throughput available ubiquitously around the world, so that and we have more and more types of automated devices, not just things like home broadband access routers, but things like smart power meters and HVAC systems and process control systems and things of that nature that can be abused to launch DDoS attacks. And so we want to suppress those attacks before they ever get started. So hopefully it's been a useful discussion. Thanks so much. I look forward to talking with you next time.